Yep.
Greetings and welcome to the Random University. Thanks for joining in today. You guys know me. My name's Brian. I'm joined today by Elan and Tom, both two people who
Going
have
on?
been on this podcast
How
already.
you doing, everybody?
But I'm going to let them introduce themselves, give a little background on each one of them just in case you guys forget. Elon started off.
Sure. So my name's Elan Kamen. I work as a personal trainer. I have anywhere from about 10 to 15 clients that work through over the month. I do everything from nutrition to sports training to one-on-one with anybody from ages 15 years old to 60, 65. And I've been doing this for now almost. I really enjoy working with people, and so I'm very passionate about it.
Okay. Tom?
Hi, Tom. I am actually new to becoming a personal trainer, just kind of starting out. I do nutrition coaching as well, mostly like low carb and keto. But I have a company called Mind Fitness, in which we are using, as we talked about in the last podcast, I'm using nutrition and fitness to help people better their mental health.
Okay. Awesome. And I'm just a huge jack dude, so I just tell people what to do to get big. So I don't need any credentials for that. No, but what I brought you guys on today for is because I want to talk about nutrition. And we all come from different backgrounds when it comes to nutrition. We all follow different routines. We all do different things. And in my opinion, and a lot of people that I've spoken to, not one approach is always the best approach. You have to find what really works for you, what you're comfortable with, and what you get the best results with. So what I want to do to start it off first, I just want to talk about what kind of a nutrition plan you follow and why you follow it, like why you chose to get into that. I'll start off, and I would say I'm more of a traditional bodybuilding type nutrition where, I'll have my certain amount of protein per day, certain amount of carbs, certain amount of vegetables. And I really stick to that. The thing I would say I kind of alter on, where I switch it up a little bit, is I do something called carb timing, where I'm not having carbohydrates at just at any point in the day. They're at specific times. So my pre-workout will always have carbs. First thing in the morning, I'll always have carbs, and post-workout. Any other meal that I'm having at any other time is probably not going to be carb based. It might have a little bit, but the carbs are mostly going to come from whether it be broccoli, asparagus, spinach, so dark leafy greens. And that's something that I've found has worked for me as far as results and how I feel. And like I said, there's not one way to do it. Everybody has their own way. But just that's something that works for me. Now, Elon, this is something that we didn't talk about last time. And I'm kind of happy that we saved it. But you're a vegan, right?
Yes, I am. Yep. So I had pretty much your diet for since like high, like that's pretty much what I did. I kind of did my carbs before my workout, and kind of had the whole bodybuilder, mentality. And about 2 years ago, I just nothing for no reason other than just trying to better my health. I mean, I think the doctor didn't tell me I was sick or anything was wrong with me. I just thought, let me try this vegan diet. I'm reading up on it, and everything that I read tells me that, you get all these nutrients from greens, and meat's not that great for you, especially the way it's processed and the way they make it, these produced. It's crazy. So I did a lot of research into it. My fiance and I are both vegan, so we kind of went into it together. She's a vegetarian for a long time before that, and then she started first, and I kind of joined in, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed cooking, so creating my meals are kind of like something I look forward to. I find ways, and and when clients ask me, give me a meal plan, I never say you should go vegan. If they ask for it, I give it to them. But I mean, for eating plants, eating animals. I personally do it for health. A little bit, I would say, for the animal as well, and then and I guess to better the earth as well, but mainly for
No, so you
my
get a
health.
touch of the ethical side of it with the treatment of animals and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, my fiance is more about the treatment of the animals. I mean, listen, it's awful. I don't know if you've seen the videos of how animals are treated, but yeah, I mean, I went to the doctor and he told me, I'm 30. He said, you're the healthiest there. Everything is literally exact as to be across the board. Your blood work is amazing. And this is about a year and a half into being vegan. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's been working for my body. I feel great.
Now, when you made the switch, how quickly did you notice a difference?
Um, well, it depends. I mean, like, in terms of the way I looked, or in terms of my body. Because at the end of the day,
I would say just overall how you felt, not necessarily for results for like what you saw, but I'm talking about like performance based and just when you wake up in the morning, do you just feel lighter on your feet? Do you feel you have more energy?
yeah, I had to perfect it. It's not. Listen, you're not. I didn't jump into it and be like, oh my god, this is like the best diet in the world. You know, I had to kind of work with it, figure out where everybody's different. Like you said, everybody's different. I had to figure out what my carb intake. You know, because at the end of the day, if you're vegan, there's not a lot of options.
Yeah.
So you got to play around with it. You got to make sure you understand what to put in your body and how it reacts.
Vegan, you don't eat this. I can't believe it. So it's so I take my headphones out.
Yeah, sometimes they give like a feedback. It's weird. Now, when you were creating a meal plan for yourself, did you find it a little overwhelming at first with trying to get the amount of protein that you needed?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because, well, yes, you hear all these things, soy's so bad for you. And then so you're like, where else am I going to get protein? You nuts? I mean, there is a lot out there, and I can go on a list and give you 20 things right now. You're like, I can't believe that there's that much protein in vegetable, But yeah, people tell me like, well, you work out every day. How do you get the protein you need? And nobody ever had not enough protein in their body. I've never heard somebody say, I'm not getting enough protein. And, at the end of the day, after my workouts and the next day, I feel good. I recover well. So I think in general, I think that's a misconception with vegan diets. So you don't get enough protein.
Yeah, you know what it was? I wasn't saying along the lines of like not getting enough protein. I'm saying because I've put together vegan diets for people before, and for myself, I found it very overwhelming to say like, all right, say a guy that's 190 pounds. I mean, roughly, if he wants to keep the muscle mass he has, you got to have about at least 190 grams of protein to maintain what you have if you're going based off of like a macro method.
Sure.
So now with just adding up the numbers and the quantities, I'm like, it seems like it's just a lot of food. Like it's just a lot of stuff.
Definitely.
Agreed.
Yep.
So that's like where the hang up was for me, where I was like, I don't know if I could ever be vegan. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love to eat, but I just don't know if I could like have that like as much as I needed for me personally.
I agree. It's something I'll go with too, even now, this far into it, sometimes I find myself just eating a lot because you just need to get enough into your body. There's only so many vegetables and other things you can eat.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
Do you take any kind of supplements or anything like that? Not supplements like creatine or anything like that. I'm talking about like nutritional ones, like vitamins or anything.
Yeah. I have a men's vitamin that I got at Whole Foods. I forgot the name of it, but it's I think it might be even Whole Foods or 365 brand. I don't know the one, but my fiance gets it for me.
Like a multivitamin?
Yeah, that's probably it's pretty much a men's multivitamin I just take every day, and it's got a couple things that I guess I'm deficient in. If you're vegan, there's a couple nutrients that you get from meat that you don't get from plants.
A lot of the B vitamins and whatnot you're not able to process as well when you're vegan.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving us a little insight on the vegan diet. Because I got to tell you, that's something that I give you credit because I could honestly never do it. I love meat way too much. As terrible as that sounds.
I'll put I'll shoot out my email at the end of this and my Instagram. If anybody has any questions, they can slide in. I'll be happy to answer.
All right, Tom. So now I know you've tried a lot. You've done it like experiments with different diets where you've gone.
Yeah, I actually was vegan in high school.
Really? I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah, that's why I was like 130 pounds then.
Yeah, you
That's
were
why.
Smaller.
Yeah.
Now, what made you be vegan in high school?
For me, it was completely about the animals, and I knew nothing about nutrition and did it extremely wrong. Even based on like standard nutrition, not just based on like my beliefs or things that I know now about nutrition. I just a lot of French fries, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was small and I just ate. If it was a plant, I ate it.
All right. So now, then, what made you make a switch?
I actually was briefly in the Air Force. Out of high school, I went into the Air Force. I ended up getting medically discharged. But I was like, this isn't going to go over well when I get there. So I kind of just started eating meat again. And I guess, at some point I was so much about the animals at the time that I think I actually got burnt out with caring so much and wanting to do so much.
Yeah.
And it just didn't fit, my life anymore. And it's funny because then for the next couple of years afterwards, excuse me, I ate everything and became a real fat bastard for a long time. It was actually originally switching over to the paleo diet, and I had, you get into CrossFit, you end up getting into paleo. It's just, how these things work.
It's like a progression through it.
Yeah. So now I do I do a cyclical ketogenic diet, which is a ketogenic diet, but you add in more carbs at certain times, more kind of like you in a carb timing. And a lot of people think that keto is just like meat and cheese and stuff like that, but it actually isn't. It's funny. A lot of times it's similar to vegan diet. Like I try to get as much vegetables in as I possibly can, mostly on the cruciferous side, to not spike my insulin and to just basically keep my carbs low. But where I follow what's known as like the bulletproof diet, which was invented by Dave Asprey. Almost everyone that has probably heard at this time about the bulletproof coffee, which is coffee with MCT oil and butter. But he actually, it's funny, it's the problem, a lot of reasons why people become vegan. And like Elan was just saying, it's about like the factory farming and the way they treat the animals and stuff like that. And the form of keto that I do, it's all about grass-fed and grass-finished, because just because meat is grass-fed doesn't mean it's grass-finished. So what happens is, grass-fed is, it's a free-range, it eats grass, but usually they'll not finish the meat the last couple of months before they take it to slaughter. They'll actually start giving it green again, which completely changes the meat. So grass-fed doesn't always mean grass-fed.
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah. So, and you look at that and it starts being like, what are you putting into your body? So it just happens to be that more ethically sourced animal proteins they put better things into the animals. There's no hormones and stuff like that. And there's a lot of truths to the vegan diet and why it works out and eliminating a lot of the things. But when I look at a lot of the health benefits that come from veganism, also come from eating the right meats, raised right. I do not eat chicken. I have eaten it. I'm not gonna say I never eat it, but I don't eat it very much because the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is pretty off. And chickens, even when they're fed correctly in free range, they eat a lot of shit. And it's not necessarily great for you. Same thing with pork for the most part. That's why it's funny that, when people think of keto, they bacon. Yeah, bacon's not great. They eat a lot of stale food and a lot of, you're just putting in crap into your body.
Yeah.
So, I lean more towards the ketogenic diet for health the most. And like we talked about for mental health, a lot of foods that we eliminate in this diet cause inflammation through your body, cause brain inflammation. Like the one thing, like let's say with a standard diet, a lot of carbs, a lot of those things, they cause inflammation. With the vegan diet, beans and lentils and stuff like that cause inflammation. You get chronic inflammation in your body, in your gut for long enough, it goes to your brain, and your brain inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
So
I cut you off. What was the name? Just because you brought it up. What was the name of that documentary that they did on Netflix a couple months ago, where they tested the thing with
the ketogenic diet? I believe it was called the Magic.
Not the keto diet. It was
called. I've seen it. I know the one you're referring to.
Yeah.
It's on my tongue.
The vegan one?
Where they they tested all the athletes.
Yeah. I forget the name of it though. But I remember one part specifically that stood out was there were guys that they were testing from the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they couldn't pick a worse team to do it to. Bunch of losers.
The Game Changers.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Game Changers, that's what it is. But what they did was they fed them these burritos, and they had beans and chicken and vegetables in it. And then they took their blood, and then I think it was like 6 hours later, they gave them a vegetarian version of it, which was just beans and the vegetables. And they found that their blood was more cloudy after they had the one with meat, as opposed to the one that they had was vegan. And then they were saying that, I felt better, I felt lighter after I ate it. When I had the one with meat, I felt a little full and I got the inflammation. And they were talking about how the meat, when you ingest it, it causes that inflammation in your body, which is interesting. And I don't like to watch one thing and kind of be swayed and be like, oh, I got to try this now. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't think about it and didn't want to give it a shot after seeing, sit and watch them for an hour and then having them get the actual results right there. And then you see it done and you're like, oh, maybe there is something to this,
Yeah, I mean getting into that's why I experiment with everything on myself. I've tried a million different diets. I'll do them for a month, 2 weeks, whatever it is, because there's so many variables and each person is different. But you could find any study to back what you're saying and then make a movie about it. And that's we could same thing with that movie. We could get into like, what kind of meat did they use? What kind of vegetables did they use? What were the other variables in this? And I think that's why you actually have to try these diets for yourself. You actually have to see what works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to.
I think at the end of the day, everybody's different. I mean, obviously, I love the vegan diet. I think it works for me. It's not going to work for everybody. Watching the movie The Game Changers, I thought it was a great movie. But I was like, did you see the game? So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, they clearly had an agenda. Yeah. And they clearly wanted to portray, that's the go-to diet for everything. And touching base on on how the animals are treated. I mean, I feel like humans were put on this earth to eat, and if it was animals, that's what we're eating. I mean, we've been carnivores and eating animals for a really long time. It's just the way that humans have started eating animals the last 100 years have changed. I mean, just touching base on the chickens that you mentioned, chickens were not these humongous animals that they are today. They were back in the day when before chickens were even being eaten this much. They were these tiny little birds, and now they've blown up 5, 6, 7 times the size that they used to be, just to feed the population. So, and at the end of the day, and I know Joe Rogan, I don't know if someone. Yeah, he preaches the carnivore diet, I believe, and but at the end of the day, he's killing his own meat, and if you're sitting there eating the meat that you kill, that's very different than, going to the store and buying, the meat that's in the aisle. It's totally different, and I think people need to realize that what they're putting in their body is impacting them greatly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's another documentary that you remember that guy Morgan Spurlock? The one that did Super Size Me?
Yeah. Sure.
Where the guy ate the McDonald's for, what was it, like a month? Every single meal. He did another one. It's called Super Size Me 2, Holy Chicken. And what he does in this one, I just recently watched it. I think it came out last year. But what he does in this one is he wants to become a fast food owner. So he wants to own a chain of restaurants. So he kind of explores what goes into that, like that whole process of setting up how the business is going to run, how to make it successful. And one of the main roadblocks that he comes into is being able to sell a product. So he wanted to have a chicken-based fast food place, right? So what he does is he goes and shops around and he tries to find all these like local farmers that are selling, and he finds kind of like this the best way I could put it, it's like a mob affiliated chicken type thing. Like that's how the farmers and the industry, like Purdue, Tyson, that's how they treat it. Like if you are not part of the big brand, you're not gonna raise your own chickens anywhere. You know, they won't let it happen. So what he did was he was like, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my own chicken farm. And he got chickens that all the other farmers were getting from like the mass factories and stuff like that. So he was raising these chickens. And the thing that was crazy to me is that from the time that they were little chicks to full grown chickens was 6 weeks. And like the thing that was the craziest though is that when these chickens would walk around, and this is so shocking for me to see, they were so big that their legs would break and they would just die. And I mean, this guy's going in there every day just pulling out bushels of dead chickens, and they would try to get them someplace to harvest them really quick because the meat's going to spoil, everything's going to go bad, obviously. But you see, like Elan, just like you were saying, like the chickens are huge. Like compared to what they used to be, there were these smaller birds, but the demand obviously for chicken has gone up, and just for all meats. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take this animal and I don't want to say they shoot them up with hormones, but I mean, it's in the food. It's in the way they raise them, the conditions. They have them in very small captive spaces. They're not running around. They're not burning a lot of energy. All they're doing is sitting and eating all day because they want them to grow as fast as possible, as big as possible. And that then, see, this is my hang up with it. And this is why I would even consider doing a vegan diet, is because you have to kind of take in mind, what are the repercussions in us when we consume that? When you have this animal that you've mass produced, that you've super grown, it's not a natural thing. So now we're going to put that into our bodies and we're going to expect to just go along normal, and where nobody's going to develop cancer or any diseases or any problems.
Right.
You know, it has to happen at some point. But I would say watch that Super Size Me too. It's extremely eye-opening. They go into all the stuff too with how they market the meat, where they write organic and grass-fed and like what those terms really mean. Like Tom, like you were saying, like, oh, something's grass-fed, but it's not grass-finished. And if you don't know that, if you don't research that, you're not going to find that out. You'll go to the store and they slap on grass-fed organic and they charge $10 more, and you're like, oh, I'm super healthy. But really, that thing towards the end of its life, before it was killed, it was fed all the grains, everything that it needed to get that last boost right before it was about to be killed. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's all food.
Yeah.
You know, that's everything that we've been consuming for the last 50, 60, 70, 100 years. You know, even plants and stuff like that. You know, a lot of the plants that we consume, if they're not certified organic or anything like that, they're grown with pesticides, they're grown with poison, they're genetically modified, and not to mention a lot of these things are grown in third world countries. You know, one of the biggest what I've learned, one of the biggest problems is mold toxins in a lot of food. For instance, coffee. Coffee has some of the biggest mold toxins in America. We don't even have anything to regulate that, whereas in Europe they regulate it by the parts per billion. But in America, we're getting coffee that's literally picked and then thrown out into the sun in, you know, a country that has low, you know, not as much health standards as us.
Yeah.
And then it gets mold grown on it.
Well,
and
yeah,
then
they're doing it the cheapest, most efficient way because they're trying to make the most money off of it.
Exactly. And, you know, mold toxins, you know, name somebody that doesn't drink coffee.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And, you know, a lot of people drink a lot of coffee. And so you got to figure those mold toxins are building up in your body and ultimately, you know, messing with your hormones, messing with your brain. I mean, when you think of it, what's the thing everyone's afraid of if your house, if the roof breaks or if it floods? Black mold.
Yeah.
They're afraid of that, but they're not afraid of the mold that might be growing on the food that they're eating.
Well, because something like that, it's hard to, unless you have hard evidence and you put it right in front of people, nobody believes it. Because
you could give hard evidence to people and they still don't believe, and they still don't care.
Because a lot of people are blissfully ignorant. They'd rather not know any of the details. They'd rather not know that, okay, yeah, the chickens are growing to 3-4 times the size and they die because their legs break. People would just rather, oh, well, I enjoy chicken because I like going to Wendy's and get a chicken sandwich.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to know what really goes into it. And see, the thing, like you were saying, like with, if you want to know something was grown organically, especially plants. Now, my response to that would be, if I want to know it was grown organically, I'm going to have my own garden. I'm going to grow my own things.
Which I think people should be doing.
Absolutely. But they have regulations on it because they don't want anybody doing that, because they want you to go to the store. They want you to spend the money, because if you have all of your own crops, you have all your own food, everything that you need, you're taken care of, you're not spending any money.
Yeah.
And you're growing. Go ahead.
And I was going to say one last thing with, just to think about that with mold, if I can just go back to that for 1 second, is the other huge thing that mold grows on, toxic mold, stuff like that, is grains. Now figure the grains that you eat has mold on it.
Yeah.
Now the standards for that are even lower for animal feed, because animal feed is also grain. Mm-hmm. So they're figuring, oh, well, the animals are going to eat it. So then you are what you eat, and then we eat the animals.
Yeah.
So that's again, like, really, to do it perfectly, you'd have to raise your own animals and grow your own. But everything is business. There's regulations on everything. I know a friend that lived in South Plainfield, wanted to start raising chickens in his backyard. He had a ton of room.
Mm-hmm.
Not allowed to raise chickens in South Plainfield.
Yep. Exactly.
It's everyone's in each other's pockets, and until we all start waking up, and people go, oh, it's politics, it's this, it's that. It's like, well, no, all the politics are the same. It's all, I don't want to say it's about control, but it's all about making money. Like, that's what makes the world go round. And until we can wake up, we're just poisoning our minds and poisoning our body with food.
Yep. What were you going to say, Elon?
Well, I was just going to touch base. It's exactly what it is. It's all about the money. It's even the big chicken farms, or any farm for that matter. It's all has to do with mint. It's all related the way wherever the money's flowing. They kind of do what they want. They say that they're free range chickens. All that means is that they're all cooped up in one big house. Yeah. The house has a roof. That's all it means.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's funny you say that, because in that movie I told you about, the guy asks, he goes, how do I get free range on my label? And they go, oh, well, you have to give the chickens a portion of space that's not covered by a roof for an hour a day or something like that. So what he does is he opens the barn door like a crack, I swear to God, and he puts a little chicken wire around the end. They might have maybe 3 feet, and I'm talking like this barn is holding like 6,000-7,000 chickens, and none of them are walking outside. He's got to literally pick one up and go walk it over and place it outside, and he goes,
they can't even move to get outside.
He goes, oh, they're free range now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's organic. If something's organic, all that really means is that there's a portion of that food that is grown without pesticides. I mean, it's 100% grown without pesticides. So, I mean, everybody has to do their research. Just make sure whatever you're putting in your body, and it's hard because it's time consuming. Like, listen, the diets that you guys follow, the diet that I follow, it's not, I just wake up in the morning and I know what I'm doing. I put a lot of research into it. I make sure whatever I buy, it's something that I know that my body would agree with. That not going to have like a bad lasting effect on me. So
Now let me ask you this.
Oh, actually, hold on. And that's why you should hire one of us three to come up with your meal plans, because we did the research for you.
There you go.
Definitely. There you go.
Now, let me ask you this, because I'm very skeptical when it comes to a lot of things. I am a person that I need not a lot of evidence, but I just, when things are said, claims are made, I always question things. Now, you said you shop at Whole Foods, right?
No, I shop, yeah, for the most part, yeah, I'll shop at Whole Foods, yeah.
Okay.
Me too.
And see, I just go to ShopRite, and I'm not saying that ShopRite's better or Whole Foods is better, but what about Whole Foods gives you that guarantee that the things that they have are what they say?
Honestly, I think you can shop at ShopRite as well. I think Whole Foods is just a brand. They brand themselves well, that they're healthier. I mean, it's the exact same thing. It just happens to be across the street from my apartment. That's really the only reason. If I'm on the way home from work and there's a ShopRite there, I'll go in the ShopRite. I'll tell you what, I'm probably have the only cart that looks the way it does compared to everybody else there. You know, I everything I pick off the shelves is I make sure it's the right thing. You know, I'm not going down so at the end of the day, it's all about what you put into your cart. It doesn't matter where you get it. I mean, you can get a ShopRite. Any supermarket has the right food. You just have to know what you're looking for.
I just don't like the people that use it as like a status symbol. Like, oh, you go to ShopRite? Well, I go to Whole Foods. It's like, all right, come on, man.
To be honest, the only reason I go to Whole Foods is it's actually close to my house, and a lot of the brands that of the foods, of the processed stuff that I eat, they carry at Whole Foods. Like the bulletproof stuff. A lot of the otherwise, like I also get like Kerrygold butter. I eat Kerrygold butter more than probably almost anything else that I eat, and I get it at Costco though. But when I was living at a different house, and people always have bad stuff to say about Aldi, but I was going to Aldi, and I was also you could also get grass-fed meat at Aldi. And believe it or not, Aldi by the end of this year is supposed to have as many certified organic things as Whole Foods.
Really?
Which I think is pretty cool, but you can go anywhere. It doesn't, as long as you know what you're looking for and you're getting the right thing, you can get it anywhere.
Of course. I've had the debate with many people before about, oh, well, you should get organic this and you should shop at Whole Foods, and, why are you going to ShopRite? You don't know where any of that's coming from. And, my response has always been to them, it's like, well, if you go into Whole Foods, did you go and slaughter the chicken? Did you defeather it? Did you put it in the package?
Definitely.
No. You're taking their
word.
Or
just stop eating chicken.
Exactly.
Probably come from the same.
But all you can do is you're just taking their word for it, no matter what.
Yeah.
And you got it, like you said, like we've said on here before, you have to gauge how you feel. I can say that I know a lot of things that if I eat it, I'm going to feel like shit. And then I know also a lot of things that I know if I eat it, I'll feel good. And I really think you got to base everything off that. And you just go out personal preference,
Yeah. Another one, like I think a lot of people, when it comes to Whole Foods, stuff like that, like you were saying, it's a status symbol. But a lot of people's complaints about Whole Foods or about free range or organic or grass fed, grass finished, whether meat or produce or anything like that, is the price. And it's the same thing with Whole Foods and why you're saying it's like a status symbol, because you could spend that money on that. And two things that come from that. One, buy the best food that you can afford. You shouldn't go without. You shouldn't go without or be hungry because you can't afford, because you can only buy so much organic and you're only going to eat that. You can't afford it, then just make the best choices you can. And then the other one, if to kind of bring it full circle, why is the grass-fed so expensive? Why is the organic so expensive? And that's because of these big factory farms. This is because it's not that it's more it is more expensive to raise these animals, but it's because they're not controlled by these huge corporations that have all this extra money. You have these smaller farms, you have these smaller farmer markets that they need to make a living too. And we've made it so difficult for them to do that by these giant corporations controlling our food.
That's what I'm telling you guys. You got to watch Super Size Me too. He goes into such detail with all these things. It's very eye-opening, I'll tell you that much. And this is coming from someone that I'm not a person that's like on either side of the fence, like, oh, I'm 100% for meat eating and that's the way life should be. You know, everyone does their thing, but I'll tell you what, I watched that and it showed me a lot. So I would definitely check that out. All right, so now I kind of want to wrap everything together here because we've been talking for a little while. So, Elan, what I want you to do real quick, just give me some basic guidelines for a vegan diet. If someone was interested in switching to a vegan diet, what are some basic things you can tell them? How to start out?
So usually, like I'll say, you usually eat a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. I mean, I have a whole list of things. It's so, the thing for me is everyone says, you know, it's so, A, they say expensive, which you said, like, it's not true. It's really not that expensive compared to any other diet. And B, it's really not hard. People think it's hard to figure out what to eat. I mean, my big thing is take a bowl, throw something green in it, throw something, some kind of a grain in there, beans, and that's your basic like Buddha bowl. And then from there you could, you know, I'll add some things here and there, but for the most part, like just come up with 3 main ingredients and put together in a bowl that mix well together, and you have yourself there like something, a good meal. And then for the most part, I have like a list when clients come to me and say I want a vegan meal plan. I have a list of like 10 breakfast things, and then 10 things you can make for lunch within 10 minutes, and 10 things for dinner. Because at the end of the day, I think, everyone's confused about the vegan diet, and they're thinking, oh, this is something that is too time consuming to figure out, or I'm never going to be able to do it because it's too simple. It's really not that hard. That's what I tell people. And then once you get the ball rolling and you kind of figure out what works with your body, like we've said, I think it's easy to master.
All right. So now, Elan, I come to you and I say, Elan, I'm interested in doing a vegan diet. I got one hang up though. How do I get myself off eating meat?
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second. Off eating.
How do I wean myself off meat? How do I do that? That's my only problem.
You know, there's a lot of alternatives out there, and some of the alternatives really aren't that good for you. But I mean, it's something that'll get you going. Like, you know, like you have the Impossible Burger, which again, it's not that great for you.
Yeah.
Soy is horrible for you. If I could eliminate one thing from every person's diet, it's soy.
You're saying or.
Yeah, in general, if I can eliminate one thing from everyone's diet, it's soy.
Why soy?
The estrogen, how much it raises your estrogen. I've read
studies that it does not raise your estrogen at all, and I've been eating it for 2 years, and my estrogen level is at perfect level.
You've gotten them tested and everything like that?
I went to the doctor. It's one of the main things I asked him, because that's why I scheduled it.
How much soy do you eat a day, would you say? And is it here's a big one. Is it fermented soy? Because that's actually a huge difference.
Both. I eat both. I eat fermented soy, and I eat my regular soy that I get. I mean, most everything I'm edamame. But I'll freeze soy. I'll buy it, and then I'll kind of either cook it somehow in the many ways that I find. But for the most part of it, it's been fine for me. When I was vegan, it actually messed up my my E3 levels and everything like that. And again, this is a perfect example that everybody's body is different. My other big one with soy has a lot to do with, I'm a big anti-inflammatory person, and soy is a legume, and legumes create gastrointestinal distress in a lot of people, especially if you have autoimmune problems, and it creates inflammation, it creates brain inflammation, and it affects everything. And
soy also has a higher carb content than what I would consume.
That's the one thing that of the things that I eat that are vegan. I mean, like that's got to be the high carb one, because I mean it's kind of like what I need to eat to get my protein in is. But back to your point about weaning off meat. I mean, no one's ever came to me and asked, said, I mean, everyone loves it. They know if you're going into the vegan road, that's the first thing you got to give up.
What do you mean?
You
never had anyone that was like, dude, I messed up.
No, because
I had a cheeseburger.
They'll tell me straight up, I love meat too much. I'm not doing it. Or they'll say like, I like to eat. That's not going to happen.
Like,
which is
Like
whatever. I mean,
all in. It's like an all-in type thing then.
Yeah, exactly. If that's like the first rule of vegan is you gotta stop eating meat. I mean, but they had meat alternatives. We just made for Cinco de Mayo we made like vegan tacos, and I used jackfruit, which I don't know if you ever had jackfruit.
I've heard
jackfruit's awesome. It really is
so good. Right. So that I use TVP, which is textured protein. For as well as the my two main things, and some people probably listen to this and be like, "What the hell is jackfruit and what the hell is TVP?" But believe it or not, both
gives something to look up.
And I've had friends come over, and I sometimes won't even tell them that it's vegan. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I put together some meat crumbles," and they're like, "This is delicious." And I'm like, "Oh, by the way, there's no meat in it." You know, so like
now
I said,
I know if I come over, you can never trick me.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to his house and he's cooking, he's not cooking you meat. That's
there you go.
So if you're getting tricked,
I should have known right away.
But like I said, it's I'm never gonna force it down anybody. You know, I've had friends come over and like we will order food and go ahead, order what we want. You could bring it in here. You know, I don't judge anybody for what they eat. You know, it's to each their own. It's what works for me, and I enjoy it. And if I didn't enjoy it, I'd probably doing it. Say the same to anybody else. If something that you feel good doing, I'm all for it. And I've had people try it for a week, and they're like, "I can't do it," and it is what it is. You know. So
yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Now, Tom, give me a summary of the ketogenic diet, like what you're doing. Just basic guidelines. If I wanted to start it, what should I do?
If you wanted to start it, we would eliminate carbs, keep them under 30 or 20 grams of carbs a day. That's net carbs, so that's carbs minus fiber. You would get about 5% of your calories from carbs. You get about 25% of your calories from protein. So ketogenic proteins would be beef, fish, chicken, eggs. A lot of people, they'll go heavy on the dairy. I'm not a big dairy person. There's actually, it has a higher carb content. It's not necessarily good for you. Not to mention that dairy actually has a chemical that in your brain reacts exactly like an opiate. And that's why you crave cheese and stuff like that, because it's like an opiate. And believe it or not, there's a bunch of studies going around that that opioid response in your brain actually is one of the factors in leading people to relapse on opiates, because it's actually triggering that in their brain, believe it or not. Yeah, it's in its infancy. You could find a study that says the opposite, but that's something to think about.
I definitely believe that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so those would be your proteins. I lean towards fish and grass-fed beef. Non-farmed fish, so wild-caught fish.
What kind of fish specifically?
I'm a big salmon guy.
Okay.
I like salmon. I like the fattier fishes, stuff like that, low mercury fish. And then the rest, you get 75% of your fats from, or of your calories from fats. So, grass-fed butter is great. MCT oil, coconut oils, avocados, olive oil. They're all superfoods. They do well in your body. And basically the whole idea is you want to switch your body from burning glucose to burning fat. So at first you kind of up your fats, and sooner or later, after you get your electrolytes balanced, or the keto flu that everyone talks about, it's usually from electrolytes, and you dip down at first, and then you start feeling better because your body has to make that switch to be fat adapted.
Yeah.
And if you want to follow what I follow, you do about 3 weeks of a strict ketogenic diet, then we start cycling in carbs, sweet potatoes, some fruits. You actually could have white rice if you cook it right. You'd actually cook white rice in butter, add a little MCT oil, especially brain octane oil, because it produces ketones. You'd actually put it in your fridge overnight, and it becomes a resistant starch, so it resists digestion. So you would actually put some of the glycogen back in your muscles, but for the most part, the little bit of digestion that it gets actually feeds your gut flora, and that actually helps better gut health. So resistant starch is actually great. Basically, you start cycling it back in, especially since I come from, more weightlifting, powerlifting, and stuff like that. I do eat carbs. I am keto, and I do time my carbs, and still am able to stay in ketosis.
Mm-hmm.
And I still burn fat as my primary fuel source, but carbs come in handy for muscle glycogen. And even though most of your hormones are controlled by fat, it also helps your thyroid to have a little bit of carbs here and there, and helps your sleep cycles have a little bit of carbs here and there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But I think even with all these diets, one thing I think that, we can agree on with all of it is trying to eliminate as much sugar from your diet as possible.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't matter whether you're vegan or you're keto or you follow your own thing and you wing it, whatever it is. Eliminating that, like the extra sugars that are in almost everything.
Yeah.
That's a very key thing.
I will say one sugar thing. It has to do with fruit. Fruit is great for you. There are great things in fruit, and it should be in moderation. People talk about, I want to lose weight, blah, blah, and fruit, it's good for you, but it is sugar, and it is fructose. And actually, you have something in your body called leptin. And leptin is a chemical that tells your brain that you're satiated. Most people who have problems with their weight are leptin resistant. So they have so much leptin going around their body, their brain doesn't tell them that they're satiated, that they're full, and they continue to eat. So if you can get your leptin under control, you begin to actually be able to burn more fat and become more satiated. And the two ways to get your leptin under control, the two big ones, is more coffee, because coffee actually stimulates the vagus nerve and gets rid of leptin resistance, and limiting fructose, because fructose it does not turn off leptin. It does not turn off the leptin resistance. It actually, that's why a lot of times when you eat fruit, you could eat some more fruit in a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of good information in this episode. People are really going to enjoy this. All right, so now that we got all the business out of the way, I don't know if you guys have been watching some of the more recent episodes, but we started doing a clip at the end where it's called Gun to Your Head. All right, I'm going to give you, it's two choices. So real quick, just pick one of them. Don't even think about it. Whatever's first that comes to you, okay? What I'll do is I'll ask the question, Elan answers, and then Tom answers. Okay, and then we move on just like that. Everything's random. It doesn't have anything to do with nutrition. It doesn't have anything to do with sports or movies or music. It's anything. All right? So first one. Would you rather have to announce to everyone around you whenever you had to fart, or would you rather pee your pants daily?
Announce when I have to fart.
Tom?
I picked peeing your pants because peeing your pants is cool.
It's the coolest thing you can do.
Consider me Miles Davis.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
Oh man, 100 horse-sized ducks. Was that the option?
It was
Say it again, one more time. I lost it.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
Oh, 100 duck-sized horses.
That's a lot, though.
Yeah, but they're tiny. They're tiny.
They could swarm you.
I'll outrun them. They got little feet. They can't go that fast.
Tom, what would you rather do?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm petrified of birds, so I'd rather fight the horses too. I think birds are horrible. They spy for the government. If it flies, it spies.
If it flies, it spies.
Yeah, one of those anti-bird people. That's why I also don't eat chicken. I want no part of it in my body. Yeah, I don't like birds, so I would fight the horses. And I believe if there's enough horses, it would turn into a sea of horses, and they wouldn't be able to swarm because I'd be able to run on the tops of them.
You've thought about that way too much.
Well, he answered first.
All right, next one. Would you rather begin every sentence with "Hey, idiot," or end every sentence with "Haha, I was just kidding"?
Hey, idiot, because that's what I'm thinking in my head anyway.
I think I start a lot of sentences with "Hey, idiot."
All right, Chipotle or Taco Bell?
Chipotle, because they have vegan options.
Chipotle because they have keto options.
Ah, there you go.
There you go.
We're just destroying Taco Bell on Cinco de Mayo.
Taco Bell's got to get on their shit.
I also don't want to shit my pants.
Yeah, it'll happen with both.
My mom is one of the people that caught E. coli from that Taco Bell outbreak a couple of years ago. Yeah.
That's awful.
Taco Bell.
Dragon or Velociraptor?
Velociraptor. Love dinosaurs.
Dragons because they can fly.
Gatorade or
So you're
Powerade?
afraid of things that fly.
Yeah.
No,
Flies
but a
is
dragon
flies.
is a dragon's big enough I can get on its back.
This is true.
Oh.
It could kill every bird.
Yeah.
Gatorade or Powerade?
Gatorade.
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 Mullet or mutton chops?
Mullet.
Yeah, absolutely fucking mullet. Like
Well,
I actually want a mullet.
I'll tell you
Yeah, I
this.
wish I could get a mullet.
I apologize because I pronounced it wrong. It's actually a French phrase. It's called a mullet. All right. So we'll just set the record straight here. Simpsons or Family Guy?
Family Guy. You know, Scott will kill me.
Oh yeah, he's as soon as he sees that.
Oh, no.
Wait, I have to ask a question. Maybe I didn't catch this before. Elon, how old are you?
30.
30. Okay. I'm 32, but I think like I think there's like a cutoff right there between me and you, where I'm 32, you're 30. That like Family Guy became more important.
Yeah.
Whereas I grew up since I was 4 watching The Simpsons.
Yep.
My entire basis of what I think is funny in my life
Is based
The
on The
Simpsons.
Simpsons. Yep.
Yeah, you know, when I was watching Simpsons, I was too young. I didn't get some of the humor, so that's what I kind of like. Was like, it's not for me, and I kind of never watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, carnival or circus?
Neither, because they fuck with animals.
Tom?
I'm actually going to have to agree with them, but if it was an animal-free carnival,
It was just clowns. It's just clowns. Both of them.
oh,
Well, that would scare. I'll do carnival.
yeah, I do carnival because there's games.
Oh,
Maybe I could dunk the clown.
that is true. Charles Manson or Timothy McVeigh?
Charles Manson. Scary.
Tom?
Timothy McVeigh, I'm like an anti-government guy, and you know he did everything because of Ruby Ridge and Waco, and
Kelly
don't
Clarkson?
tread on me.
Kelly Clarkson or Carrie Underwood?
Kelly Clarkson. Just because I don't really care about either. Just the first one I can think of.
Tom?
I don't really know what either of them looks like.
It doesn't matter. Just you gotta pick one.
If you put them both in front of me, I'd be like, I'm not sure which one's which.
Yeah, I pick. I'll just pick the Underwood to be different.
Paper clips or rubber bands?
Paper clips all day.
All day.
I work as a teacher, so paper clips is my will.
I'm going to go with rubber bands because you could shoot a rubber band.
But a paper clip could be a weapon too.
Yeah, but you want reach.
That is true.
You know,
You could use the rubber band to launch the paper clip.
yeah, but it was one or the other.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Weird Al or a weird guy named Al?
Weird Al. Love Weird Al.
Weird guy named Al. I'm a fan of weird guys, vagrants, stuff like that. Those are my people.
I'm not even kidding. I was looking forward to asking that question so much because when I wrote it, I started laughing. I started laughing so much when I texted Scott and I was like, "Listen to this one."
Dude, there's something about a weird guy named Al that says we're gonna ride trains together.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
All right, last one. Tums or Rolaids?
You said Tums or Rolaids?
Yeah.
I've never had. I mean, I think I can't remember that either. I don't even know what they taste like. Tums.
Tom?
We talking about the medicine or?
I'm not good at this game.
Yeah, for like upset stomach.
Okay, not somebody with AIDS in a wheelchair.
No.
Oh, okay.
I get what you're saying though. Roll.
To be honest, Tums, when I ran a bunch of tren and my stomach was horrible and everything I ate gave me antacid, Tums was there for me. Rolaids wasn't.
Guys, Elan, plug whatever you want. Your Instagram.
Sure. My Instagram is eke.khey. You can. I'm not giving you my email. It's not worth it. You can just message me on Instagram if anybody has any questions about anything I talk about. I'll be happy to share. I mean, I'm at this point. I mean, I have like pre-made meal plans that I can just shoot out that take me a couple minutes to put together for anybody, just based on what they like. So just a little questionnaire you'll fill out, and I don't really charge for the vegan ones or in general for the meal plans because they're kind of already made. I just kind of alter a little bit for everybody. So I'll be happy to make it for anybody who wants one.
Awesome. Tom?
You could find me at Mind Fitness Official on Instagram. Yeah, you can mess with me. I'm kind of the opposite of Elan, where I do a lot of fitness stuff, but I do charge for the nutrition plan because mine is extremely tailored to you and to basically to your needs. To kind of, my whole thing is to optimize your health and your mental health through food. So you can find me on there, and that will also help you get to my YouTube where I post videos about the same. And I have an ebook coming out at the end of the month of the 3 pillars of Mind Fitness, nutrition, fitness, and mindfulness. And that'll be available to buy at the end of the month.
Awesome. Guys, thanks so much for being on. I had a great time doing this. Hopefully we can do it again. Everyone watching at home, follow True Exact Radio on Instagram. Get at both these guys. If you need any type of nutrition, you need anything with fitness, 2 great guys. All right? Peace.
Thank you.